a trophy.
And welcome back to another fine installment. I'm not going to go as far as to say this one's artisanal, though. I have to be honest. I have to be honest with you, myself, and them.
Right.
Maybe not artisanal this time around. Because we have
Do it yourself artisanal.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, you like the Ramones, right? So we're the Ramones of video game podcasts on YouTube. Definitely started this whole thing. That's clear. And that's why we only have, it's a choice. It's a choice to have these 2 cameras instead of 3 because we're showing you like what we can do with the limited tool set. That's what I want to say here.
You are the Johnny Ramone.
Thank you.
And I'll be DD.
Johnny Ramone was mean, so so I'll take that. And then apparently you're into heroin now, or is that how that goes?
Always have been.
I can't wait for you to rap. Funky. Look that up. That's a great, wonderful thing that Dee Ramone tried to do. Okay, we are continuing our talk on hype. Before we get into it, I'm going to do the plugs at the beginning because I didn't do that at the beginning the last time.
Good.
Please like and subscribe. Give us comments if you have ideas, suggestions for episodes. We're open. Ears are open. If you like us on Spotify, I'll tell you right now, we're there. So you can take a shower and listen to us.
Yeah,
and
do that.
Yeah, because what better way to clean your body? Wash your butt and listen to us. Perfect. What a winning combination. Okay. With that out of the way, we ended the last little episode with Star Wars Episode 1. Which I think
for the hype cycle.
Yeah. So I'm going to put a pin right here in what I'm about to say because I want to cycle back to this. But I think Episode 1 is what I'm about to say. I think you'll agree wholeheartedly. In our lifetimes, when it comes to pop culture, maybe nothing has been more hyped and then under-delivered than the Star Wars Episode 1 of Phantom Menace. I will also say, hold on. I'll also say, because I'm saying this so we can return to it, the Nintendo 64.
Okay.
And they're kind of sort of around the same time. A little bit of a couple years of a gap there. But in terms of like what the promises were for both of these things and what they ended up being, I think there's a congruency there. But let's start with Episode 1 first, and we're going to come back to the Nintendo 64.
Right. So Episode 1, and this is a slight difference with the Nintendo 64, which was a big deal amongst gamers, but Episode 1 permeated the cultural zeitgeist in a way unlike I've seen anything in my life since permeate it. So I think we've said this before, but this was at a time when like people would actually still watch the nightly news.
Yeah.
They dedicated an entire segment on my local news broadcast.
I also watched this.
To showing the trailer for the movie.
Well, no.
When the trailer was released.
The trailer, okay. Let me correct you. For the historical record, let me correct you. The thing that happened on the news was they made a segment announcing that George Lucas was making new Star Wars movies.
Oh, I remember that.
No trailer, no nothing.
Yeah.
It was just, they're making new Star Wars movies.
Yes.
And everyone was like, okay, we're listening.
Yeah.
The trailer debuted in a Super Bowl. The first...
Oh, is that right?
Oh, yeah. The first trailer for Phantom Menace aired during the Super Bowl of 1998, I think. It was 98 because it was a full year and change before the movie would actually release.
Okay, so this is remarkable for a few reasons. One, I don't remember that.
That absolutely
Two,
happened.
My team was actually in that Super Bowl.
Okay.
so I should remember it.
Yes, we agree.
Because I watched every millisecond of that. I remember it being on the news. But in any event, that trailer comes out, the movie's going to come out, and you have to, this is like so absurd. Like people don't do this anymore. You had to camp out to get tickets to see the movie. Which we did. Some of us did. Producer Chris Bear got tickets.
I was in on. I didn't do Episode 1 with you guys. I did Episode 2, which is in a lot of ways more embarrassing. That I slept on concrete, which probably was the beginning. That and backyard wrestling were the genesis of the genocide of having a lifelong of back problems. But yeah, you guys did. I remember this vividly. You guys were so fucking excited to just do that, and it was fun when I did it with you guys for Episode 2. It was a really, really good time.
Because part of the hype experience is just enveloping yourself into the culture around the thing that you're hyping. And you get super excited for it, and you're amongst like-minded people who are also super excited for it. And when you're hyping something, you're always hyping something that hasn't actually happened yet. That's the point of hype. It's not actually here yet. You're anticipating the thing coming.
Yes.
And as long as you're anticipating something coming, there's nothing but possibilities.
Right.
So when the Star Wars movie, it's just like, what's it going to be? We saw the trailer. It actually looked pretty good, but you didn't know like what what it was going to be. And so because of that, it could be anything.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about it with your friends, it was like, I don't know. How many Jedi are there going to be? Living lightsabers.
In the trailer, you can't, like, for me, the thing about that trailer that I am not going to get out of this conversation without saying this, but Darth Maul was everything. I remember seeing him, right place, right time, right age.
Yeah.
I still kind of feel, rightly or wrongly, because, you know, I couldn't care less about Star Wars. I absolutely think
you don't like Star Wars?
I don't. I think
breaking news on this show.
Yeah, not to ruffle any feathers here, but I do think Star Wars has been ruined by Disney. But a Darth Maul as a thing, as just like a visual, it is to this day the coolest thing that they've ever done.
And the reveal in the trailer with the dual-sided lightsaber and all.
Duel of the Fates, the song playing the entire time.
Oh man, it just all of it. So, in terms of the hype cycle, seeing all of that, and you're right about Darth Maul, that is the highest heights. It permeates the culture. You're camping out for tickets. It was such an event. It's the first movie in 15 years, the Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's right. Because it came out in 99.
Yeah.
Jedi was 84?
83. So 16 years.
16 years, yeah.
So I'm 19 years old. You're 15 years old.
Yep.
So it's just perfect.
Perfect, yeah.
And then the movie comes out.
So I want to ask you that, because we've done, if you go into the archives, we've done an episode about Star Wars, and I know we talked about this hype cycle in not in the detail that we're going through now.
We did an episode on this, people.
Well, it was about Star Wars games, and there was no way we couldn't talk about that. And then we're going to talk about pod racing. It's just going to happen,
of course.
Yeah. But for you, when did the mystique wear off? When did you finally come to terms with the fact that it's a bad movie?
You want me to admit this on camera?
I do. Yeah.
For the people who are watching.
Yes,
oh my god.
Absolutely.
It's like confessing my therapist, because I was really late to it, and this is going to play into your stereotype of me, which makes it even worse. But all through episode 1, I was like, well, it's not like the best movie, but it's not the worst movie either. I was fine.
So when your first time watching it, that's what I'm asking about, the first time you watched it, and then when it came out. I guess I'm re-asking that question.
I thought that parts of it were hokey.
Okay.
But the Duel of the Fates and that last battle was enough to kind of carry me for a long time. I certainly didn't. I wouldn't say like, oh, that was awful. That was a bad experience.
Yeah.
And through episode 2, in fact, I said, coming out of the theater, that is the best Star Wars movie that's ever been.
So I'm also going to admit this to the people. And I feel like whatever. So in episode 1, I saw that movie in the theater like 5 times. And I never thought it was bad those 5 times. I just didn't. Yeah. Like, I was like, no, this is great. I don't know why are people complaining about this wonderful movie? Even none of it bothered me. Like the pod racing.
Yeah.
Like that's how strong the hype cycle was.
Anakin and the jet.
Yeah,
that's a cool trick.
I loved all of it. It was great. It wasn't until episode 1 came out on home video and I finally went and bought it. And I remember at school literally panhandling to buy it. Like I went up to people, hey, you have a quarter? Hey, you have a dollar? Hey, you have a quarter? And I did.
Coming of age stories, Brian.
It's perfect. So I literally got money from begging people to go buy the tape of it. And then I did. And then I remember putting it on, watching it in my bedroom, and being like, fuck, I own the best movie of all time. And then that first run of watching that movie at home with none of the stuff. Like I'm not in a theater with a bunch of nerds.
THX and all that, yeah.
I'm just watching it on the shitty 19-inch TV in a VCR that's plugged in with this. And I'm just watching and be like, okay, all right. I haven't seen this in a couple months. I don't remember this movie being so racist. And then, so for me, that's when it wore off. It was the home video experience. Episode 2, exact same cycle. I thought, just like you, this movie's so badass. I thought that the Yoda fight scene was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. Dude,
in theaters, I was losing my mind when that happened. I was like, oh my God! Yeah. Oh my God!
Yeah. And then you look back at it now and it's just like, whoa, holy shit. Episode 2 is a worse movie than episode 1.
Absolutely. It's the worst of the 3.
Yeah. Episode 3, I think technically you're probably right. Like if we sit there and if we analyze that movie frame for frame and just tear apart the story, I think you're right. But for me, episode 3, at that point I'd given up. Before episode 3 comes out, I'd completely given up on Star Wars. Yeah. Not only the prequels, but I was also kind of down on the original Star Wars movies by that point. So when I went into 3, I went in the door having A, not paid for that ticket,
Right.
and B, being like arms folded, like this is gonna fucking suck, and it did. And I'll go on record saying that the most embarrassing thing that they did, okay, you got Little Orphan Annie, you got the pod racing, all that stuff is fine.
It's fine in terms of it being
compared to Darth Vader being on the fucking table and asking, "Is Padme okay?" No. That was probably the single most embarrassing thing I've ever seen in a movie.
I think actually the Anakin the flirting scenes, sand is so coarse and rough.
Yeah, literally rolling around in beds of flowers.
Yeah, and then in the beginning of episode 3, there's this bit where Padme is like, "It's because I am so in love," and then Anakin says like, "It's because I'm so in love with you." It's like some of the worst written dialogue and worst acting from otherwise competent actors, or at least in Natalie Portman's case.
Well, it turns out that acting surrounded by nothing but the color green is a difficult thing to do.
Well, and with the poor director.
And with the poor director and just an embarrassingly bad script. All of those things together.
So the hype cycle, Brian, it goes up and down. So you're probably correct, though, that in terms of the highest highs of being hyped about the possibilities compared to the lowest lows of the reality of what those possibilities turned into.
Yes.
That is probably number one in terms of all media.
Yeah.
I don't know what number one, if I would have been older or old enough during the E.T. hype, maybe E.T. would be it for video games. But I can't think of something that even comes close to approaching that in terms of an actual video game.
I can. The Nintendo 64.
Hardware, on the other hand,
So,
it's like maybe.
Obviously there's a caveat. Like the lead up to the N64, all the delays, the literal bait and switch that is playing Cruis'n USA and Killer Instinct, and them telling you, lying to you, saying that this is what it's going to be like. Yeah. This will be available on the Ultra 64.
It was built in as a CGI overlay into the Killer Instinct arcade cabinets.
And in Nintendo Power, GamePro, all the big contemporary magazines, like that's literally in print. It's saying like, if you want to see the N64 now or the Ultra 64 now, go to the arcade, play these games because that's what you're getting. So now, N64 as a system, the hype is unreal. Mario 64 very largely delivers on that hype in my opinion and many other people's opinions.
Definitely.
Game is incredible. It has finally, it's like almost 30 years later, it's finally starting to show its age for me in terms of like the camera being an asshole. But it's the first one. It's the first camera. Like, so I am apologetic towards it. But for a really early 3D game to take that long for it to finally show some ass is like pretty impressive.
And still, a lot of the gameplay gimmicks that they did in that game have definitely withstood the test of time.
Yeah.
The way you collect stars and all of that.
Yeah.
The optionality of going to different worlds. And
yes.
all of that is really, really held up.
So you have Mario 64, and then the rest of that entire season.
Launch lineup.
The whole launch lineup is just like, what the fuck are we doing? Now, Wayne Gretzky 3D Hockey is a fun little hockey game. I'm always going to say that. I'm always going to go on record.
Okay.
Wave Race 64 for years had the most impressive water physics in a game like that you would see for a long time.
Yeah.
Outside of those two things,
Pilot Wings.
So Pilot Wings, I think, is a cool little game. It's fun. I've gone back and played it on Switch Online, which I can't recommend enough because that game had an unlocked frame rate. So if you go and play it on Switch Online, it runs at like 60 frames a second now, which is fucking cool.
Yeah.
And I wish they all did that. But
right.
They don't. But it's a cool game, but no, it's not a system seller. And in fact, I remember when I was a kid snooping around for presents as I did. What happened at the time is my mom couldn't buy Mario 64 because it was sold out everywhere. Yeah. So it's like, well, we have two games, so I'll get the other one. And I remember like finding it and being like, God damn it, and being all bummed. And so then the course was corrected.
I'm just sitting there. We found the goods.
Yeah.
And then it's like opening Al Capone's vault or something.
Man, what a perfect analogy. There's fucking crackers in here. But yeah, that's I found Pilot Wings and I was legitimately bummed. And then my sister saved the day and was like, "You can't do this. You cannot give him this game. You gotta find Mario." And she did. So I got my N64 with Mario and nothing else, and it was fine. But yeah, that launch window, and it didn't.
Shadows of the Empire.
Shadows of the Empire.
Mortal Kombat 3, which you just talked about.
Mortal Kombat Trilogy, which sucks.
Trilogy, yeah.
Even that game by itself, Mortal Kombat Trilogy is like a kind of a hack job of a game. But if you compare the N64 version to like the PlayStation and the Saturn version, like they're way more featured. Like you could play as Goro in those.
Yeah.
Like you could play as Mortal Kombat 1 versions of Kano, and like it was really cool stuff. And because of the shitty cartridges, like that just wasn't happening on the N64 version. So anyway, you have all this buildup of like this is going to be the only video game system you're ever going to need to buy. Like that's literally like the level of hype that they did, and they were cross-marketing against PlayStation, which was an unknown until it became very known. Then you could see where history's led us to today in terms of how strong the PlayStation brand is. But at the time, it was like kind of the groundwork was laid that the N64 was the be all end all, and then it wasn't. It just flat out wasn't. And then every once in a while, you'd get these nice little glimmers of light. Mario Kart 64 is a great game. Star Fox 64, GoldenEye, those are that year, all 97 stuff. And then 98 you got Banjo, and then the end of 98 you got Zelda Ocarina of Time, and that's kind of it. So like as a system, as a console, like I can sit here and rattle off a bunch of great games for the N64, but like
compared to the promises,
compared to the promises, like it just didn't happen.
I remember at the time, I was a die-in-the-wool Nintendo supporter and defender, as I just talked about on the previous episode. I would go to school and try to defend the sweat in Mortal Kombat 1.
You're doing your duty. You're doing your Christian duty.
Carrying water for them.
Going on. What do the Mormons do? What is it called? You're going on your mission. You're going on your mission. Yeah.
Doing pro bono legal work for them, PR work at age 13. So the N64 is announced, and again, the hype cycle, nothing but possibilities. Mm-hmm. And Nintendo, for its part, is feeding into the possibility.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about how great the specs are going to be, what's going to be capable of. This isn't just another console. It's like a revolution in gaming and all that. And then it was just one disappointment after another, starting with we've talked about this 10 times on the show, but the name change from Ultra 64 to Nintendo 64. That's just marketing. That's just the name of a console, but that was a disappointment. Then the games came out, and you're exactly right. They had a bunch of good first-party games, but not any real third-party support.
Well, and the best stuff on N64 we didn't get. Like there's a really good amount of awesome fucking Japanese games. Sin and Punishment, Bangai-O,
Mother 3, right?
Well, that was famously announced and never delivered for the DD, which is another thing that they did.
So that's what I was going to say. Is that what Nintendo would do? This would drive me crazy. As loyal subscribers to their propaganda magazine,
their propaganda rag.
They would make these big announcements in the magazine about like this is the next big thing. So no sooner than did the N64 come out, then you would read in the magazine like, hey, the next big thing is the 64DD, this amazing accessory that you can put on your.
I want to jump in here on that, because that to me, you want to talk about just blind like brand allegiance hype. That was a 64DD. Like at that point, like I didn't have the technical knowledge or know-how to realize what I was believing in was a technical impossibility. But I remember going to friends' houses, seeing what was capable on PlayStation, and to a lesser degree even the Saturn, just cutscenes, CGI stuff. Because like now, like I gotta skip them so fast because I don't care anymore. But at that time, they were really truly special. Like it's special to the point of like I remember in elementary school, like looking at like Compton's Interactive Encyclopedia and seeing little postage stamp videos of like fucking Kennedy giving a speech. And just being like,
mine was the space shuttle taking off.
There you go. And I was just like, what the fuck?
I can just watch it over and over again. This
doesn't look like Commander Keen at all. But same thing with the N64. I thought the DD was going to be this thing that delivered on all the things that they got wrong is going to be fixed by zip disks. No, that's not how that works, as it turns out.
And then, so they hype it all to hell for about a year.
Yeah.
And then they just announce in like the bottom corner of the last page of an issue of Nintendo Power, oh, by the way, it's
canceled. Yeah, we're done. It's canceled. We got to get out of here. Lock up the shop. Lock up. We're done.
Well, and it was only canceled in America. Yeah. It actually did come out in Japan.
It barely came out in Japan.
Yeah.
It barely came out. You had to subscribe to a service called RandNet, and they only produced, I think, in total, like 10,000 64. It's either 10 or 20,000 64 DDs.
Brutal. Just brutal.
I don't know if you recall this, but Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, largely lauded, and correctly so in my opinion, as one of the most important video games of that entire generation, was a 64 DD exclusive. That was going to be that came out. That was the launch game for the 64 DD. And same thing when they were like, yeah, we gotta get rid of this. In that same little area of GamePro, they talked about like, oh, and the new Zelda game's coming out on a cartridge, so don't worry about it, guys. You're still gonna get that Zelda game. And then like, okay, the game did that. Now there's an example of some positive hype because Ocarina of Time 100% delivered,
super hype,
and it delivered entirely on the hype.
Yeah,
probably the only Mario 64 and Zelda Ocarina of Time are the only two games that delivered on the N64 promise. But then everything else just completely shit the bed entirely. GoldenEye, yeah, okay, it was like the biggest game ever, and like it literally transcended fucking the way we played multiplayer games, and is like super duper influential. And those wrestling games. But good lord, those wrestling games.
Okay, but GoldenEye wasn't hyped though. That just came out.
No, it was hyped. It was absolutely hyped because the multiplayer aspect of it was hyped in magazines.
Yeah, well, okay, fine. I would say that the actual experience exceeded whatever hype that there was.
That's fair.
There may have been hype, but it wasn't like Zelda.
And also, you got to remember too, the game was like, I think 2 or 3 years removed from the movie.
Oh yeah, because the movie was 95.
95, I think. Yeah. And like the movie itself, that was a big deal because it was like here's the first movie with Pierce Brosnan as the new Bond, and they hadn't made a Bond movie since like 89. Yeah. So that was a big deal. But yeah, this game didn't come out until 1997, so it was like that was a little weird. But that game was absolutely hyped to death. Like it was. And it was all about the multiplayer of like, here's this game that's going to take advantage of those goddamn 4 controller ports,
right?
And boy did it!
Yeah,
boy did it!
Great.
So throw another one out there? What's another example? And you can go pro or con. Give me a good example of hype. And did it deliver? Did it underdeliver?
Okay, I got a good one here.
Lay it on me, Chief.
Okay, Grand Theft Auto 5.
Okay, yeah.
Game was hyped all to hell.
Yeah.
First new GTA in 5 or 6 years, whatever it was. And then by that point, people had super, super high expectations.
Yeah.
And then it's lived up to them so much so that they haven't had to make a new one for 10 years.
It's like 12 years. And there's actually talk about how they being Rockstar, are genuinely worried. There's a concern about how they can do this. Like, because people, and for me, GTA Online, like I remember trying it like on the PS3, and just being like, yeah, this kind of isn't for me. Yeah. But obviously, I'm in a vast minority because people still play it, and there's been so many changes and all this other stuff since the launch of it. Obviously, it's gone through like multiple fucking console generations.
What's up, YouTube? It's your boy, back with another theoretical Laserdisc review. I got my Leapfrog camera that I found in the trash. I've got my paint coursing through my blood, keeping me calm and ready to go with another theoretical Laserdisc review. So again, I don't have any Laserdiscs on my person. I do have my imagination and I have my willpower. So the next Laserdisc review, in theory, that I would do, if I had all of my druthers, would be Jurassic Park on Laserdisc by Steven Spielberg. So Jurassic Park, as we all know, is an absolute classic about animal life and when things go wrong when you play God. My roommate tried to play God. He interfered with my life. And here we are. I'm sitting under a tree somewhere in the beautiful state of Oregon with a brain full of spray paint, thinking about Laserdiscs that I would want to purchase. And so, without any further ado, let's talk Jurassic Park. It's a movie about dinosaurs, right? And it's a movie about playing God and creating enemies for life. Things that are outside of the purview of control. So, were I to purchase this Laserdisc, I can tell you straight away that this movie is a fucking flawless victory of filmmaking. It's a flawless victory of telling the truth about dinosaurs. And it is a flawless victory of the performance of one Jeff Goldblum. So, movie starts out and they go down and like they suck out the jizz from a mosquito, and then they pop that jizz into like an egg and create a dinosaur. Fast forward, cut 2, you see everybody like in like a field, and then the one guy who's like a doctor scientist like gets up and he's like, what the fuck? And then like you see like this huge dinosaur, and it looks all the way fucking real. Kind of like the dinosaur that's right outside of the camera that I'm pretty sure is here because of the paint. Although the dinosaur that I'm looking at is significantly smaller than the brachiosaur featured in Jurassic Park. And I don't think Steven Spielberg had paint coursing through his brain when he made that movie like I do now. Back to the picture, let's do a quick theoretical unboxing. And here we are, and I'm now sliding the disc out, and it's absolutely paper. It's always going to be a paper sleeve because I'm in full command of the situation here, and my brain is driving this ship like a pilot, like a cosmic pilot. Back in the sleeve it goes. So, the journey of Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park is similar to mine. His roommate completely fucked him over and ruined his life and took away all of his treasures, just like my roommate did to me. But the commonality ends there, because Jeff Goldblum, of course, has money and shelter, whereas I currently do not. But I've got a lot of paint, and that goes a long way. So, if I were to give a review of Jurassic Park on Laserdisc for the fam, I would go ahead and give it fucking 4 million out of 10, easy, because it's a movie about dinosaurs, and I have a new dinosaur friend who follows me around and gets these videos done with me. So, I want to go ahead and thank you, the fam, and also my little tiny dinosaur friend who I'm just now going to name Ricky Ticky, because I like to say that. Quite frankly, Ricky Ticky's a fun thing to say, and I'll continue to say that. So, if you could, maybe buy that Laserdisc for me and mail it to me, or at least point out a thrift store in which I can shoplift a version. Go ahead and you can web crawler search that, and I'm sure I'll get the intel. It'll be really like a great boon in my life, something that is desperately needed. And if you think about how much I've given back to you, the Whoop Fam Laserdisc community, I think it's about time that you go ahead and return that back onto me. So thank you so much for your continued support, and I will return again with another theoretical Laserdisc review.
The hype from going from GTA 4 to 5 was gigantic. You're 100% right. It was the single largest media event, not video games, media, that on its launch day. It made like $1 billion on the first day, and then it's only made money from that point on, which is like, oh, holy shit. And that game is incredible.
Yeah.
To this day, if I just want to sit there and have a great time, I'm gonna stalk someone down the street and I'm gonna punch them in the back of the head.
So right when the game came out is right around when you were getting married.
Yeah.
And we hung out for your bachelor party.
Yep.
And a not insignificant portion of the time we just played GTA.
And we just punched people. Just nonstop. It was so much fun. So a quick little side story on that. I am, as no secret, I'm a believer when it comes to Nintendo. Never have I gotten off that train. I didn't buy GTA 5 right away because I wanted to buy and play Wonderful 101 on the Wii U, which came out on the same day.
Good game.
It's an excellent game. I love that game. But like, you want to talk about like marching a game out to die.
Yeah.
It was released on the same day as the biggest media event of the last like 15 years or whatever it is. Right. So that's what happened. It launched on a system that died, like out of the gate died, and then that game died. But yeah, like I had to finish Wonderful 101 before I finally was able to like, okay, now I have the time. Now I'm going to play GTA.
I know, that's my story with the Horizon games coming out.
Or also GTA 5.
Also GTA 5, right? Or the second Horizon game coming out the week that Elden Ring came out.
I still to this day haven't played neither of the good Horizon games, the good ones, because I played the VR one, which was a fun technical showpiece of like what VR can do, but as a game, it wasn't a very good game. But yeah, those games, you want to talk about like how to not release a game correctly. Like,
that's right.
It was Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and then Elden Ring.
Yep.
Those were the games that it launched.
The two biggest games of their respective years.
Way to go, gang.
So we have a new GTA coming out.
Yes.
So hype cycle, Brian.
Woo! Yeah. And
first one in 12 years. The possibilities are endless. What's the game going to be? What new features are there going to be?
Have you seen the ass jiggling physics?
Yeah.
Have you seen the ass jiggling physics?
Yeah.
No, but you're 100% right. And how can it not be? How can GTA 6 not be this giant nuclear bomb of hype? Because it's the sequel to one of the biggest things of all time.
Oh, the hype makes sense.
Yeah.
Now the question is, and they haven't let us down so far, but will the game actually meet those expectations? Is it even possible?
You know, it's funny.
To meet the expectations?
It's funny because I've heard this talked about, not just one place too, but like the idea of where America. So GTA has always been a satire on America.
Yeah.
That's like part of the magic of it. And now we are in this place in American history that we've not seen before. Like in reality is so fucking weird and fucked up. How is GTA 6 going to lampoon that if the reality of what we live is such a farce?
Well, they picked the right place for it.
Yeah, Florida. Shout out to my bath salt smoking homies in Florida.
Bath salt smoking homies.
Well, I think I just named a new band.
Oh man, we just lost our 4 Florida subscribers.
Shit, come back.
Let's go back.
Well, I'll talk about Cannibal Corpse. They recorded in
We
Florida.
actually love bath salts.
Midlife Krisis, here to say we like bath salts. But to me, I think right now, in terms of what's happening, and going back to some recent topics we've had on the show, like the video game industry at large right now feels in a down point. It feels in a lull. So like the really
creative lull.
No, I think in general
actually, you're right.
in a lull.
Yeah.
The whole thing
you're
is in a
right.
lull.
You're right.
So GTA 6 is, in my opinion, in estimation, it is like the biggest like spire of hype that's happening right now. I'm super duper excited about it. I will allow myself to feel this hype and be aboard the train.
Brian, you've been hurt so many times.
And I'll get hurt again. And I'm fine with that. It's a part of the fandom. I think a part of being a video game nerd, being a lifer in this shit, is like, this is a part of it. And like, I think we're both at a point where we've been playing video games for such a long time that like, when you see something that's being hyped, your inclination is to be like, this is horseshit.
Your inclination. I am the guy who buys into all of this.
That's true.
This is why I'm so surprised by this take from you.
Yeah, okay.
You're the one who's like, you're all marks. I'm the one who won't be hurt here.
Right.
You're all marks. But now you're saying that at least for GTA 6,
yes,
you two are going to be a mark.
I am a mark for it. Like that trailer got me more excited for an upcoming video game than anything that I can think of in the last handful of years. Yeah. Because like, you can see where they're headed with it. You can see some of these ideas. And to what I was saying earlier, like, how are you going to lampoon a reality that is such a fucking weird farce now? Like, if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be them. Because there's
plenty of content out there for them to utilize.
And then that's in terms of that's I think is like the creative output of what's potentially possible. Now think of like all of the money, of the fucking trillions of dollars Rockstar has to guarantee that this game will be something special. Like it may not. Look, it's not out yet, so we have to put that caveat on the table.
There's only possibilities, Brian.
Right now, it's just possibilities that we're talking about. But I think that like there's so much behind it. They have so much at stake on it that like they're going to release something that's going to be truly special. And they
after 12 years.
After 12 years of all the ideas and all that stuff, and like. I personally have not played any of those Red Dead Redemption games. I have it on great authority that they're beloved.
The sequel in particular.
Yeah. So like that company, certainly not not deplete of controversy and bullshit. But name me a giant company that doesn't have their bullshit involved.
Little company named Blizzard Entertainment.
Got it.
Brian.
Smooth sailing. Don't Google that. Please don't Google that. Or Google it. It's fine. But yeah, I think GTA 6 is going to be a thing that I think will largely deliver on the hype because they can't afford. Well, they kind of can't afford not to, as long as they keep GTA Online on.
When they finally announce a release date for it, let's just say it's June of next year.
Yeah.
There will not be a AAA game to come out within 30 days on either side of that release window.
Wonderful 102 will be released by Capcom.
It's going to be just a black hole of like GTA comes out and then nothing for 3 months.
Which I'm more than fine with because like carved me out a nice little window to fully enjoy that time. Now, we've been razzled and dazzled by the ass-trickling physics of that game. They've got to nail the punching random people physics because what they delivered on GTA 5 is fucking flawless. So like,
they're such haymakers, like
and then when they immediately ragdoll, it's just so satisfying. So that's the first thing that I'm doing to see if that delivers on its promise. It's a very important thing. In terms of hardware, let's have fun. Let's hype.
Okay.
As we record, we know nothing about the new Switch. Let's hype each other up here.
Oh, well, I can. I don't think you mean just about the possibilities?
Yeah.
No problem.
Non-issue.
Okay, a larger screen, higher frame rates, LED quality on the picture quality.
Do you think? So I'm going to go on record here. I think that Nintendo, being the charitable thing that they are, they're definitely not doing an OLED out of the gate.
Only possibilities, Brian. Anything is possible right now. We're talking about the possibilities.
But then how are they
here.
going to sell you another system if they come out of the gate with the best screen?
They'll come out with a bigger screen on the on the upgrade system.
It's certainly a possibility.
Better no joystick drag or
Man,
left analog drag.
Boy, do they need to fucking address that in a big way.
They could have Bluetooth support right out of the gate, unlike having to wait 3 years for it. Like
Here's a special one for me from the old BT. I want themes. They used to have in 3DS like all these cool customization options of like you can get like, well, if you like a game, you put it like that's your background. You can move folders around. Folders.
Yeah.
Switch like got folders like a year ago or something like that.
The number one thing that they could do that would make sure that I'm a day one buyer, I'm already going to be a day one buyer.
Come on.
But I mean, extra special.
Yeah.
They could implement any kind of a competent online system.
You are wishing for a lot.
Doesn't have to be as good as Sony's, which is
Yeah.
the best in my opinion, but just something to better organize the shop, and also
The shop.
they
Jesus.
could implement some trophies, because that's the most important thing that exists in video games, are trophies and achievements. We've covered this, Brian. I'm pretty sure you agree with me.
That is a unilateral ask.
Or you could at least they could give you better profile options for seeing your friends' games. And I know I can look at your games and see what you played and how many hours, but there could be a little more interactivity with that. And you remember how annoyingly difficult it's been for us to chat with each other through their app on your phone?
Well, we gave up on it. We just stopped. We're normal people and we use Discord now.
So what I'm asking for, those are features that already exist on the competing platforms.
Yeah.
Okay, I would like them to exist on the Nintendo platform. I won't even say it's like second tier. This isn't. I just want it to exist on the Nintendo platform because I love Nintendo games and I love playing Nintendo games with my good friends.
And you're only going to play them on a Nintendo system.
That's right.
Yeah.
So just give me that,
Yes.
and I won't even lament the fact that you're late to the party in terms of online features. I will just be happy and grateful that you came to the party at all, and that'll be enough to ensure my satisfaction with the new unit. So that's the hype. Only possibilities,
Only
Brian.
possibilities.
That they could do that.
So for me, the one thing I need them to do this, is make it backwards compatible with the old Switch. That's my number one thing that I want them to do, and I think they're going to do it.
I've heard because it's the Switch has sold so many units. You really need that.
And they make money. Like I think a lot of people are under this impression that like the end of physical video games is coming, and I think it is coming, but not on the next Nintendo system.
Yeah,
they make so much money. Still being the draconian fucking like you got to work through us. Yeah. They make these things. Yeah. Their factories is what produce these things.
Yeah.
So as long as that's a thing, and as long as there are 40-year-old man children like me that's how I devour their shit, because I have to buy them and hold them, they're going to continue to do it.
It's still one of my proudest achievements that the Switch games are the size of a thumbnail.
Yeah.
And I've had 3 kids in ages
since the Switch.
Ages like three from ages like 3 to 8 or whatever, and then I haven't lost one of those games yet, miraculously.
It is. You should be commended on that.
It
is a true miracle.
It's such a life accomplishment.
Yeah, it's a true miracle. So yeah, my biggest ask is for it to be backwards compatible. Then second is, let's fix those Joy-Con. Now my third, this is my weirdo outlier thing. I think this is actually going to happen? Probably not, but I'm going to leave the window open on this, because Nintendo is going to Nintendo. They do weird shit. I want them to do something that's like magically Nintendo weird out of left field. Like I'm talking
like the Wii controller.
Like the Wii controller. I'm talking about the 3D screen on the 3DS without having to wear glasses. Yeah. I'm something like that.
Only Nintendo does that now.
Right. Exactly. And that's like what... that makes me think of something I'm going to ask you when we're done with this part. But the whole idea of them joining the pack and playing it really, really safe, like everyone else is doing, that will disappoint me. I don't think that they're going to do it. Now, whether or not they actually capitalize it, like you take the right Joy-Con right now and there's the IR camera on there. The thing has been used, I don't know, maybe like 6 times total. Yeah. But it's there. And like if you go buy another Joy-Con today, it's still there. So like they could do something like that, do something weird, like mount a camera on there, do something weird with that. That's what I'll end with, is I want them to do something weird and wacky. I want all the other stuff, just like you, like have it be more like on parity with the competition and stuff in terms of graphical fidelity and all that stuff. But give me a little taste of Papa Nintendo's weird sauce.
So the hype machine says that right now it's really exciting and fun to talk about all these things because nothing but possibilities.
Right, sure.
And we'll be crushingly disappointed when it actually comes out. There's no new online features. It is a slightly bigger screen. It's a better processor, but it's basically like a Switch 2 Pro.
Yeah.
Or a Switch Pro as opposed to a Switch 2. That's what we're heading towards, Brian.
Could be. Hopefully won't be, but could be. And since you brought it up and we can end on this, do you have any hype at all whatsoever about a PS5 Pro?
No.
Me neither.
No, and nobody does. And actually, that's kind of what everybody's saying is like, we don't really need this. You guys have barely released games that feel like they're next gen anyway.
I'll go a step further. I think that if they actually follow through, and all signs are pointing to them actually doing it.
Yeah.
I think if they release a PS5 Pro, I think it could be overall detrimental to their business.
Oh, I'm not going to buy it.
Yeah, me neither. And we buy everything.
Yeah.
So like,
if you've lost us,
then
yeah. So before we end, because I want to ask you this question.
Lay it on me, Chief.
Because I thought of this episode because I thought it would be a good episode because hype is a really weird thing. And whereas it has a negative connotation with it, but we have both told stories, both about games living up to the hype and how cool that is. And also about important coming of age moments that we've had about just the hype experience itself, regardless of whether or not you were disappointed by it later on. I don't really remember like the actual visceral pain of Mortal Kombat letting me down. I just remember sort of like the fun story around it about trying to defend it at school and also the excitement of
no pain for me. I had a Genesis and a Super Nintendo.
Right. But because you are who you are, it made me think it's like, well, how does Brian feel about hype in general? Which is why your GTA answer surprised me a little bit because even a nihilist like you will sometimes just find that game that's like, oh man, I'm still getting excited. Yeah. Well, it's good because it means you're not totally dead inside.
Totally dead inside, yeah.
So how do you actually view it in terms of the negative versus the positive of the hype? Oh, and then before you answer, let me add this in too. We didn't even talk about that much in this episode, but the media machinery, the self-perpetuating magazines hyping a game so that people will buy the magazine, but then the game publishers pay that part of it. Like so that's where I join you, and I'm incredibly cynical about all of that, and I fucking hate all of it.
Yeah.
So I thought that when we did this episode, it was going to be basically you just telling a series of stories about games being shitty and not living up to the hype. I wasn't expecting the GTA giddiness that I got from you. But with all that, I've now given you the platform. Tell me how you feel about just hype in general and the cynical part of it versus the Christmas Eve, what's going to happen, what am I going to get the next day, excitement part of it.
So because I am a lifer and have been a part of these types of cycles for so long, I can't help but lean towards like the jadedness most of the time.
Yeah.
However, there are examples, GTA 6 being the most recent one. There's and then before that probably Elden Ring.
Oh, Shenmue 3.
Shenmue 3. Boy howdy, Shenmue 3.
Yeah.
And the best part about Shenmue 3 is like there are fans that aren't happy with that game. And to them, I say you are not a fucking fan of Shenmue because that game did everything that I wanted it to. Like it had really ugly characters, got them. Like kind of boring, check. But then all the things that I like genuinely love about Shenmue that is good, it also delivered on that. Like no other game do I feel like I'm actually there than in a Shenmue game. Like I think it does such a good job of like taking you to the world that it's trying to create. But again, like I think a lot of the quote unquote bugs of Shenmue are features to me. But anyway, I will sidebar that. But that's a great example of I was incredibly hyped. I don't know if I told the story now, but I'll tell it again because it's Shenmue and I have to. When that announcement happened for Sony E3, my son was like an infant, right? So he's like, I think he was like probably like 4 months old or something like that. And I'm sitting there, he's on my chest. And like I'm watching the Sony press conference and he's like kind of like gently asleep on my chest or whatever. They announced Shenmue 3 and I'm like, what the fuck? And like I couldn't help but just start like I literally weeping that because here's something that like I never in my life ever thought was possible. Like I thought it was never going to happen. And then 17 years of it not happening proved that. And then all of a sudden, this thing happened. And it was like, it made me, as a natural pessimist, it made me feel optimism in my bone marrow. And I fucking loved it.
What a story.
That's probably one of my, like, that's, if we want to, maybe we'll do another episode about E3, just because that was our first ever episode. And as we come on the anniversary of E3 not existing, right. Maybe we'll do another episode where we talk about our favorite moments throughout time. In the history of E3. But that one is number one with a bullet for me because I just didn't expect it to be a thing. And that started that hype cycle. The Kickstarter, which it delivered. It came out, which is not the story for so many Kickstarter things.
I was the cynic then. I made fun of you for a solid year.
Sure did.
It's never going to happen.
Yeah, and then here we were.
You got the last laugh on that one.
There's that other, man, there's it became like a meme. Like someone, I think one of the artists on the Shenmue team like drew this, but there's like this and I don't remember the name of the podcast or any of the people involved, but like they had my reaction. Like they were literally like hugging each other and crying because Shenmue 3 was going to be a thing. It was just like, oh, that's the power of video games, folks. That's what can happen.
That's what we can do.
That's what it's possible. But there's a lot of things that I get hyped over just because I'm such a mark for. Like every time there's a new Street Fighter cycle, I'm hyped on that.
A lot of Nintendo stuff, I know you.
Oh, definitely. Like so you know, to the surprise of nobody, I'm a fan, and the things that I'm a fan of, I get hyped up for. But I'm not a fan of a lot of things. So, so every once in a while, one of those will sneak through the filter. You know, I was very speaking of like a downturn with hype. I was really hyped for the Xbox Series X because like I did think that they had done such a shitty job with the previous console from day one. That like they would have had to have learned all these lessons, and then it came out, and it did feel like they did learn a lot of lessons. I still think it's a great piece of hardware. I'm enjoying Xbox now, just because of some of the games that I'm buying on. They just happen to be cheaper on the Xbox, right. So I'm playing it a little bit more.
And Game Pass is still a good value.
And Game Pass is still a good value, but I think my idea of what the Series X and S was going to be versus where it is today, that and a little bit down.
Well, and why is that? Because games like Starfield, this is going to be the best space RPG ever. Didn't quite live up to the hype.
Did not.
Games like Halo, you said good first season, good multiplayer, but game overall didn't live up to the hype.
I haven't gone back in recent months. It's gotten, apparently a lot of people are playing it again because they've done a lot of good stuff. Right. I haven't personally checked it out. But that doesn't answer for like the 2 years that it didn't do anything.
Right. So you have a console that in terms of the hardware lives up to the hype. Yeah. But then, you know, that's only 50% of the equation.
It's a paperweight without games, and that's kind of where it's at.
Like this show, it's both audio and visual. Right. You need both.
You need both. And I can show you we have this one, and but that's fine. That's fine. Because all you need is 2, Daddy.
We have 100% greatness on 50% of what's required.
Exactly.
What a line.
Okay, to button it up here, I think that hype is a fun part. It's fun and also at times disappointing part of being a video game nerd. I think probably more than any other medium out there, I think video games are most susceptible to the hype cycle.
Oh, yeah. You have to wait so long.
You have to wait so long, and they announce shit so long. Yeah. Like they torture you with that stuff, and they don't do the same with movies. But I also think that like I don't know, like it's probably a whole separate episode, but like movies have fallen off such a fucking cliff that it's like it's hard to get any sort of fucking enthusiasm with what those
I just
things
saw a list of the top 25 movies of 2023, and I had only heard of one of them. I hadn't really seen any of them. So we made the right choice by sticking to video games.
You're goddamn right.
Video games,
Video games, people.
Yeah, we're only on a little bit of a lull in video games. We haven't fallen off a cliff. We're just on a downward slope.
It's just a tumbling thing. That thing, they don't grow when they tumble. There's not some sort of ball made of a weather-based material that grows as it tumbles downhill. But that's not here nor there. So this has been hype. Anything you want to say on the end here?
No. Good episode. I was very interested in what you were going to bring to the table, and you surprised me. That's always good.
Hey, it's always fun. Okay, well that's going to be this show. I think we need to do something that we haven't done in a long time, and this is going to be a hype-based gentleman's handshake.
Oh.
So ready? Here we go. Whoa! This is going to be so cool!